Well, everybody wants to be a star, don't they? They've got all these shows now. How to be American Idol, and America Has Talent, and they even have people dressed up like I don't know what, and then trying to guess who they are and their talent. But I don't care anything about if I'm a star on earth. I want to be a star in God's show, don't you? And the Bible tells me in Daniel chapter 12 on the front of your card, verse 3, those who are wise will shine like the brightness of the heavens, and those who lead many to righteousness like the stars forever and ever. The stars card is another tool that you can put in your toolbox, and I hope that all of you will use it. It's the beginning of really making a difference and being able to start reaching other people. When I was baptized into Christ as a young boy, the preacher came to me and put his arm around me and he said, "Son, you've been blessed to have been taught the gospel. Now I want you to go out and find 10 people and bring to Christ." Well, I took him seriously. So I went out and I pounded a couple of my friends to death until they were baptized. One of them grew up to be a deacon in the church. The other one died in his 20s of a drug overdose. But I keep working on my 10 all the time. Now, I pull this out at lunch and show them this is what my card looks like now. It's pretty beat up, isn't it? But it's been in my billfold. See, it folds over and stays in your billfold, and it's been there for well over a year. And so it's pretty beat up. And it has people's names that are all over the country. One lady, I forgot who she is, but I pray for her anyway. So if you would, write down 10 people. You don't have to do it right now, but you ought to write down 10 people that you know that you would like to start leading to Christ. Now, as long as they don't go faithfully to another Church of Christ, then they're fair game. Even if they told you that I've been a member of such and such church for so many years, and you still want to work on them, go ahead and put their name down. You got to fill out that 10 anyway, and you got to have 10 to start with. So if you'll work on that, if you'll start with 10, and I know all of you can think of 10 people, and so we're going to talk. Yes, sir. Yeah. Because I'm going to show you some things you can do with them to help bring that study along. Now, who could be in your 10? Well, it may be neighbors. Everybody has a neighbor, don't you? Unless you live out in the country somewhere. Even if you do, you got a neighbor. They might be 20 miles away, but they're still your neighbor. So you can start with a neighbor. Do you know your neighbors? Do you know their name? Have you met them? Talked to them? And there might be some close friends. Maybe you've had a friend that you go and play Frisbee with every Sunday, or go golfing with, or you see them at the post office, or you grew up with them. Some of you went to school with them. Still your close friends. They might be co-workers. Some of you here are working, and some of you are retired. And if you're retired, you probably work harder now than you did when you were working. You just don't have any excuse to put off those honeydews now. And so, and when people find out you're retired, they say, "Oh, you're retired. Can you help me with fill in the blank?" And then classmates. All of you went to school, didn't you? And do you have some classmates that still live around here? Yeah, you probably do. Well, if you do, then put their name down, especially if they're on Facebook with you. How about kin folks? Who are you kin to? Who here has kin folks that live in this area that doesn't go to church? Anybody? Okay. There's some that do. Well, you can put your kin folks as part of them. Agents and salespeople. Do salespeople call on you? Some of you ladies, you have an Avon lady. My wife has an Avon lady, and she calls on her all the time. Well, my wife calls on this Avon lady, and she's had Bible discussions, and she's trying to get her to come to church. Our only problem is we're not there much, but she's trying to get her to come to the church that my son preaches at in Saginaw, and she's laid a little bit of connection. Now, she's going back to her church for a while, but that's all right because that's not going to last very long. And then you might have service people or groups or clubs that you're in, people that you see all the time. And you have somebody that fixes your car. I know that your car doesn't work all the time. Anyone have a car here that's 40 years old and you've never had it repaired? Never had the oil change on it? I mean, do y'all have cards that you hand out here, Carrie? Cards from the church? A variety, okay. So go get you some of those church cards and carry them around with you always. We came up with a card at lunch today, and if you go out to a restaurant, whoever serves you, ask them, tell them that we're about to pray. Is there anything that we can pray for you for? And the young man that served us said, yeah, my mom. And we asked the name, and as said, what's wrong? So he said, she's been sick lately. Well, every time he came out, he called me brother after that. So, you can make some pretty good connections with people you just see once or twice. How many of you are part of a garden club or some other club that you go to, a golf club, whatever? You might know them. Remember, 10 people who do not attend the church here, even if they attend a denomination on a regular basis. Now, you may say, well, we have a lot of Catholic people in this town, and they're hard to reach. Well, right now, the Catholic Church is going through some big changes, and there are some people that are disillusioned with their church. And I know they're very set on it because when they get them when they're young, they have that ingrained in them. But you can talk with them, and you can eventually bring them around to a Bible study. There are 4 methods for developing prospects, and it's on your card here. It's at the bottom to remind you. The first one is pray. Pray for these people daily. Pray for your 10. Don't give up. Sometimes I forget to pray for them, and then I'll bring it out again, and I've already memorized those 10, so when I pray, I can bring their name up. And then also pray with them personally. If you don't feel comfortable doing that, then say, I'm going to pray for you. What do you want me to pray for? How many other people pray for them? How many people at their church that they go to pray for them? Usually not a lot. And so if you want to get somebody's attention, pray for them to God, that God will open a door. Have y'all ever sung the song, Lead Me to Some Soul Today? Any of y'all know that song? Y'all know that? When we close, we'll just sing that song. I keep trying to remember to bring the sheet music to it. It's not in your book there. But one of these days, I'm going to remember to bring the sheet music to it. But that is a great song to sing. Lead me to some soul today. Oh, teach me, Lord, just what to say. Friends of mine are lost in sin and cannot find their way. Few there are who seem to care, and few there are who pray. Melt my heart and fill my life. Lead me to some soul today. Wouldn't that be a great prayer to pray when you wake up in the morning? Lord, lead me to some, and will. You'll be surprised. And if you pray for them personally, you'll really make a good friend. Then study. First of all, you need to study every day. You need to be in the Bible every day. There's no excuse for it. David said in Psalms chapter 1, he said, blessed is the man who walks not in the counsel of the ungodly, or stands in the way of sinners, or sits in the seat of the scornful, but his delight is in the law of the Lord, in which he doth meditate upon it twice a day. What are they? He doth meditate upon it day and night. So if you'll just read a passage of Scripture, one a day, and I read one, and then I mark it up in my Bible. I'll put a question. I've been reading in Jeremiah. I've been putting a lot of ouches by some of these people, what God's going to do with them. Mercy. I mean, he really talked to them, but they didn't want to listen. And then I also have I was going to bring it, and I don't know what happened to me. I didn't bring my medicine either, but I got some yesterday, so thank God. But I was going to bring this. Some of y'all that are older, y'all remember those transistor radios that you used to carry around, and you'd put a little plug in it and put it in your ear and listen to the radio. Well, they've got a thing out called the Wonder Bible. It's really good. And my oldest son bought it to me, who's fallen away from the church, but he bought it for me. He's coming back. I got him on my prayer list, and he gave it to me for Christmas. That's the best Christmas present he's ever given me. Most of the time when your kids give you a birthday or Father's Day present is, let's go out to eat, Dad, and guess who pays for it? Learn something new and use it. Like, for instance, if you go to work and you've learned something exciting that you didn't know, well, share it with people. Or if you see your neighbor or someone you're talking to, say, you know what I learned today? I learned that Delilah didn't cut Samson's hair. Did you know that? Who was it? It was a Philistine, wasn't it? But everybody thinks it was Delilah. Just share with them some of those things. And I'll also go over your list and share what you've studied and learned, and share the Bible, share Bible trivia with them. Bible trivia is something that people are interested in. Did you know there are dinosaurs in the Bible? That's right, and 2 of them are detailed in the book of Job, Job chapter 40 and 41. One of them's called a what? Behemoth, and the other one's called a Leviathan. And in Hebrew, the word dragon is used quite a bit for other areas, for other animals, unexplained. And of course, the Leviathan is not a mythological creature. It was surely a fire-breathing dragon. And we have more empirical evidence for fire-breathing dragons, or dragons themselves, than people can imagine. Now, archaeologists may argue with you because they haven't found the bones, but they lived at the sea. If they live in the sea and they die in the sea, what's going to happen to their bones? They're going to be gone. They won't be preserved. The fish and the sharks and all the rest of them will eat away until they're gone. And if the fish don't eat them, the coral will. So nothing's going to be preserved in the watery depths. But there was a skull found with 4 nostrils, and the head was flat, and it was big. And it couldn't have been millions of years old because it was dug up. And a lot of these things that they found have been, these artifacts and these dinosaurs, they've been able to boil out, when you boil a bone, you get the bone marrow. Well, they still have the marrow in them. Well, that's impossible if they're millions of years old. That means they're hundreds or thousands of years old, not hundreds of thousands. Well, people are interested in that, and they want to know about it. So you learn and then share with them, and always have a Bible with you in your hand, or at least carry it with you in the car or wherever you go, because if you want to talk with people about the Bible, it's a good thing to have a Bible with you. And one thing that I do when I talk to people about the Bible is that I'll say, if someone has a question, I'll say, that's a good question. Can y'all remember that? Those 4 little words will help you whenever you talk with someone about the Bible. That's a good question. Say it with me now. That's a good question. See, you don't have to be a Bible scholar to study the Bible with somebody. You just have to know those 4 words. And you write it down, say, let's get together Tuesday or Thursday night, and we'll study. We'll see out of the Bible. And if they go to the Catholic Church, tell them to bring their Catholic Bible with them. That'll impress them. And then take their Catholic Bible, which most of them have never picked up in their life, and then turn to the verse that you want them to see and turn it around and let them read it right out of the Catholic Bible. That impresses Catholics. There have been many that have come to Christ because someone will take the time to respect them and respect their culture that they grew up with. People like to be respected. Brother Kerry, do you mind? There's some people that came in. Do you mind? If you don't mind taking the cards to them, there's 1, 2, 3, 4 that need a card. But if you'll look up the passage and just turn it around and let them read it, that's a great way to study with people. Great way to study with, because they can't argue with you. And so just tell them, well, let's get together and you bring your Catholic Bible. Now, not everybody's a Catholic, but you'd be surprised. And if they claim to be one, then call their hand on it. Let them read. Otherwise, you'll just be talking on and on and on and on, and it's your opinion, not the Bible's word, is it? Now then, we're also working on, and I saw that Carrie had one of these things from World Video Bible School, a little card that you can hand out. And that's a good thing to hand out. We're working on some 52 card pack that we can give out, and people can give out a card a day with scripture on it. These are just seeds. How many seeds did you have to have, brother, to start that garden out there? Yeah, but do you plant just one seed in the hole? Exactly right. Some 40, some 60, some 100-fold. Jesus said that in the parable of the soils, didn't he? Do you know the only person in the Bible mentioned that had 100-fold crops? Do you know the answer to that question? Well, think about it, and I'll tell you before we leave. Those are good trivia questions, aren't they? I've never known a farmer. Now, they get more out of it today, but I've never known a farmer that got 100% production out of every seed that he planted. Now then, so you pray with them, you study with them, you study a little at a time. Now, what you're trying to do is set up the big study. Now, turn over on the back of your card, and I want to show you how to carry on a conversation and make a connection. You may talk with people all the time, but do you know anything about them? Do you know anything about, is this being recorded? Okay, so I'll need after I get through with this, I'll need a volunteer. So if nobody comes up, Carrie, then you can pick out a volunteer. Now, HOPES is an acronym for H, home. You talk about where they're from. Well, let's see. Yeah, here we go. You talk about where they're from. And what you're looking for is to make a connection. Places you've lived. Tell me about the place. If it's somewhere that you've never been to, tell me about that. Since Susan and I have been traveling around the United States, we've seen signs to different places and so on. Did y'all know that there's a cool Texas? Do you know that? I mean, Texas is cool, but there's actually by Mineral Wells, there's a little place called Cool, Texas. So see, if you're from Texas, you're just a cool person. So, you can say we're so cool, we even named a town after it. And then occupation. What do you do for a living? If they say they're retired, what did you do for a living? Look for a common link. Is that the only place you ever worked? What other areas did you work at? Don't make it about you. See, keep asking them questions. And only when you can find a connection is when you say something about you. Otherwise, you keep asking questions. Then P is preferences. What's your favorite food? And where's your favorite place to live? I mean, favorite place to eat in town. There are a lot of good Mexican food restaurants here, and I love Mexican food. I can't eat a lot of it right now, but that's probably my favorite food. But it's not so popular up in Philadelphia. I told these folks here that we stopped at a Mexican food restaurant in Philadelphia, and they brought out an enchilada that had spaghetti sauce on top. Now, that's just wrong. And do you like the weather that we're having? And if somebody comes down here and they say it's too hot, you say wait till August. And then where do you like to go on a vacation? What's your vacation spot that you go to? And what's your favorite church that you've ever been to? That can lead into some things. What's your favorite sport, or what's your favorite sports team? You know, are you a Cowboy fan? Are you Oilers? Are you a Texans fan, or you just don't like that kind of stuff? Right now, I'm not a Major League Baseball fan at all, or a NBA fan. I'm barely hanging on to the Cowboys. But I used to be an Astros fan and a Rockets fan, Houston area, because we lived in the Houston area for around 30 years, on and off in our lives. But when I was raised in North Texas, it was the Cowboys or nothing. You know, you spoke blasphemy if anything else came out of your mouth. And then, what do you like to talk about? What's your favorite conversation? What's your favorite game that you played? Y'all play 42 down here? Do you? What's that? It's played. Now you go up north, they don't even know what 42 is. But 42, of course, up in North Texas, I mean, a lot of us older people, we grew up cutting our teeth on 42. But anyway, you can talk about those things and let them talk about it. And then if you have a connection, then that's when you pipe in. But you don't want it to be all about you. You just say, yeah, I like that too, and I used to do this, that, and the other. Then entertainment. What do you like to do for entertainment? You like to go to the movies? My wife and we love to go to the movies. The only problem is most of the movies they come out with these days, we have to check them out before we go because some of them are not worth, we don't go to R-rated movies. We just don't go. And the reason is because a teenager one time that was keeping our kids asked me, "Did you go see such and such movie?" We said, "Yeah." "Isn't that R-rated?" I said, "Yeah." "Well, if the world thinks it's bad enough that kids can't go to, why are you going to it?" That was back in the 80s. And so we quit going to R-rated movies, and we wouldn't let our kids go to it. So the first thing they did when they turned 18 was go to an R-rated movie, and they found out it wasn't that good. Then some people like photography, or they like to paint, or whatever, or they like to act. Just listen to them. Some people like to play golf. I used to be pretty good at golf. I could. One time I got a 76 on the first 9. Some people like to fish. Others like to play board games. Even still, some people, like my wife, like to read books. What's that author that you like a lot? John Grisham. Any of y'all ladies read John Grisham books? They're lawyer type of books. This last one she's reading, one of the jurors, the prospective jurors, was Church of Christ. And what did they say about the Church of Christ? Very conservative and strict about rules, so they didn't select that one for the jury. So anyway, well, I'm proud that they recognized that we were that way. Some people don't like it, think that we're evil. But you know something? Aren't you proud to keep the rules? Aren't you happy that you're good? We don't have to go slithering around. People don't even slither anymore. They just go ahead and do it and say it. My landlord he can't say a sentence without using a cuss word. The last one is the most important one. That's the S. That's their spiritual story. What's your spiritual or religious story? That's where you really get into where the cow eat the cabbage. Now, don't ask them where they go to church anymore. Don't ever ask anybody anymore, where do you go to church? Instead, ask them, where do you go to church every Sunday? Because you see, in a town like Weslaco, you have about 90% of the town that's not in church anywhere. And if people do go to church, they'll tell you the church they stay away from. And if they are XYZ or this religion or that religion, they may go once in a while. Some of them go Christmas and Easter, and they think they're faithful Christians if they do that. So get their life story. Listen, ask, make mental notes of what they say. If they don't go every Sunday, there's a disconnect there, and there's an opportunity for you. Eventually, you can set up a Bible study. In fact, if the conversation goes right, you can set up a Bible study in 15 minutes with most people. And I'll show you how in just a minute. Now then, I need a volunteer. Dun, 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 dun. Voluntold? Well, come on up. Come on down. You're the next contestant. On the price goes down. Okay, come on up right here. Now, he just walked into church. I don't know who he is. So I'm going to introduce myself, and we're going to have a conversation. So look at your hopes card and see how I do on it. Hello, my name's John Orr.
Sebastian.
Sebastian.
Yes.
Glad to meet you.
Nice
Have I ever met you?
No.
Well, it's good to meet you, and I'm glad that you're here with us today. And so, Sebastian, where do you live?
I live in Donna.
Donna?
Yes, neighbor city.
Okay, I'm fixing them. Now, every time I make a connection, y'all go, everybody here goes ding, ding. Can y'all do it? Let's practice it. Ding, ding. Okay, if I make a connection, y'all ding, ding. If y'all quit ding, dinging on me, I'm going to stop and get after you. Okay, you ready?
Yeah.
Okay. We're staying at the Comfort Inn in Donna. Yeah, we really like the town, and it looks like it's a nice town. How long have you lived there?
All my life.
All your life?
All my life.
So, well, that's good. But this is our first visit to Donna. And so we didn't know Donna existed, but now we do. So what do you do for a living?
I work at home right now.
You work at home. What do you do?
Home. AutoCAD drafting.
AutoCAD drafting.
Engineering drafting.
Wow, that's something. You going to school for that, or have you been to school for that?
I've gone to school for that, but I'm just doing that right now.
I know someone in Needville, Texas, that does that for a living. Yeah. I couldn't do it.
No.
I can't even draw a stick figure.
No,
You know, but humor is always good too. If you can share a little, don't be an old dried out onion. So anyway, you like Sleeterbond?
I haven't been there in a long time. I'm not a lifeguard there at all.
Oh, you're not?
No. This is just a shirt I have.
I bet you go there when you do and guard a lot of lives, don't you?
I haven't been there in a long time, but I would like to.
You'd like to. Well,
I'd like to.
I have never been to Sleeterbond. I've heard a lot about it.
Yeah.
But I have been to the Frio River
Free order.
in the hot summer. Well, Frio is one of the rivers that feeds into it down in San Marcos, or not San Marcos, but what's the town's name? What's that? The town next to San Marcos, where Sleeterbond is.
No, Schlitterbahn is here at the island.
Oh, you got one at the island.
This is here at the island, yes.
Okay, well, the first one I had ever heard of was New Braunfels. That's it. Have you ever been to the New Braunfels
Never
one?
been. I've never been over there.
Yeah, well, anyway, I didn't know y'all had a Sleeterbond here.
Yep.
Y'all are really uptown, I'll tell you what.
It's been there forever.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Yeah, well, that's something else. So have you always done this, drafting, and done anything else?
I worked at a gym for 3 years.
I've been to gyms, but I have Tourette syndrome. Now, it doesn't bother me when I'm talking usually, but when I talk about it, it bothers me. But I make noises, or I jerk my head, or there's some thing that I do.
Okay.
But when I go and work out at a gym, I make noises. I go, huh, 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 you know, and people look, what is wrong with this? So I don't go to the gym anymore. Anyway, but you can tell from my physique that I really don't need to go to a gym.
No. No, you don't need to.
It's too late. Well, what do you like to eat? What's your favorite place to eat?
I like heavy food, so burgers.
Burgers. Barbecue.
Barbecue, anything that's big and heavy.
Meaty.
Meaty.
Yeah, my youngest son, he was a meat eater.
Yeah.
Yeah, he had to have meat when he was a baby. It's like, vegetable beef. He wouldn't even eat vegetables or anything when my wife would feed him. And he loved to get those big old turkey legs.
Yeah, those are good.
Oh, he'd go around and eat them, and he just, and we'd find chicken bones and turkey bones under his bed. It wasn't a nice situation. And because he was such a meat eater, today he's 6'5" and weighs over 400 pounds. And he is a meat.
He's tall.
He is. He puts his hand on my head and say, "You'll be all right, little man." So, what's your favorite place to vacation?
We don't really vacation that much, but I do like to go to the mountains whenever we do. We usually take a trip once a year, so.
Which mountains?
What are they? There was Smoky Mountains. I'm
Smoky Mountains are beautiful.
Yes.
Yeah, you go up by Gatlinburg?
Yes. We go through Gatlinburg, and then sometimes we'll go there and come down through North Carolina.
We usually go there once a year when we go to polishing the pulpit.
where
where
we're
y'all
going.
go?
That's where we're going. So
But unfortunately, they're not gonna have it again this year, so.
yeah,
But we love to go up those ski lifts,
yeah.
going up to the mountain.
We're probably gonna take a group anyways, just to go over there because we enjoy the drive.
Do you go to Dollywood?
I don't think we went. We've been there.
If you go to Dollywood, ride the train. And there was a song that came out around 2000, 2001 called The Long Black Train. You ever heard of it? Well, they play it, and you're on it's a long black train
Yeah.
from Alaska, I think they got it from. Anyway, it's a neat park to go to. It's all about Dolly, just about.
Yeah.
Anyway, so what are your future plans?
Either continue moving up in this company or find some more engineering work that I am interested in, more related to space.
Well, good. Oh, space. Don't y'all have some kind of
SpaceX,
SpaceX? How far is that from here?
Brownsville, I would say, or he's out there in Brownsville kind of area, Boca Chica. So 40, 50 minutes.
Yeah. What all do they do out there?
Space launch. They launch spacecraft over there. They test things.
So that's where they're
That's where
fixing to have this launch?
They had their launch already, but I think that was out of not this. It wasn't here in Boca Chica.
Yeah.
But they do launch different aircraft from there.
Well, I had launched this morning, but not the time. You know. Anyway, well, that is really neat. I'd like to see that someday.
Yeah.
So, what do you do for entertainment?
I work out.
Work out?
If that's entertainment, I don't watch a lot of movies.
Well, you know, that is entertainment. Do you have one of those Peloton machines or something
No.
like that?
No, I have different gym memberships. So
Oh, do you? Yeah. Well, that's kind of fun to go to those gyms.
yeah,
I'd go shoot some hoops when I went there. You like to play basketball?
I like sports. I haven't played as much as I'd like to, but yeah.
Yeah. I haven't been able to play since my accident, but anyway. But I'm going to get back out on the court. Well, that's good. Well, what's your religious story?
I was baptized in 2013 here, but I've been coming since about 2008, and I've been serving here in different parts.
What were you before?
My mom grew me up here, so I don't remember anything really before that, any other church, but since she started bringing me here, that's where I've been. So
Right.
I've always just been inside the church here.
That is wonderful. That is wonderful. Well, God bless you. You're going to marry a good young lady and have kids and be an elder someday. So, and you'll make a good one.
Yeah.
Well, God bless you. It's so good to meet you and
Sure.
talk with you.
Nice to meet you.
And you bet. And thanks for passing out
No
the
problem.
cards for me.
Yeah.
You bet. Okay, now, if he had not been a member of the church, I would have asked him about his background. If he had told me, well, you know, I've gone to this and I go to that, or I'm such and such, but I don't really go, that's an opportunity for you to set up a Bible study. You can say, have you ever wondered about, have you ever heard much about Jesus? Now, is that an odd question? And they'll say, yeah, I've heard about Jesus all my life. I said, but you know, do you know everything about Jesus? And you can quote something or say something. And you can say, we have the study called The Rest of the Story of Jesus. And I would love to sit down with you and share it with you. And you can tell me about your religious feelings, and we can study the Bible, and I'll listen. And would you like to sit down and go over that? When would be a good time for you, Tuesday night or Thursday night? You don't ever say, would you like to study sometime? You say, you go ahead and give them an option, Tuesday night, Thursday night. Now, what if they say, you know, I just don't really have time to study? Then you can say, I know how you feel. There's a lot of things I don't have time for. But if I hadn't started coming to church down there on Bridge Street, my life would have been a mess by now. And there's a lot of things a lot of scary things going on right now, aren't there? I mean, people I know, young people and old alike, have died with COVID. Pretty scary. And the world situation's pretty scary right now too, isn't it? You just keep talking until they finally say, I need to know more about Jesus. Don't talk to them about church, talk to them about Jesus, because Jesus is the founder of the church. And if they want to know more about Jesus, now I talked to one guy and he said, well, I know a lot about Jesus. And then I said something to him like, well, did you know that Jesus performed a miracle that doctors didn't even understand until about 30 years ago? No, I didn't know that. Yeah, when Jesus put mud on a guy's eyes and he healed him, but the guy couldn't see. He could see, but he couldn't focus. And Jesus asked him, what do you see? And he said, men, they move like trees. And then he put his hands on him again, and he healed him and gave him focus. We didn't understand what he meant until about 30 years ago, when they were able to restore someone's sight who'd gone blind when they were 2 years old. And what it is there are light tracers when they move around, like a tree limb. See, a blind person, when they see a tree in their mind, they think of the swaying of the tree leaves when the wind blows. And so that's why the man said they look like trees. They're moving around. The light tracers follow the movements of everybody walking around. We didn't know that until 30 years ago. And yet Jesus healed him. Now, Jesus was trying to teach his disciples focus. It's not just enough to see, you also have to focus on things. It's not just enough to hear, you have to do. You have to experience it, and so on. So those were great lessons, but people have never heard of that. And they can go look it up, and they'll find out that that's exactly what it is. And so did you know that Jesus was talked about in the Old Testament? No, I didn't know that. Where? Well, you can talk to him about it. He was the angel of the Lord. And, that's a fantastic study. And so anyway, there are a lot of things that people don't know of what they think they know. And a lot of people have a lot of ideas about religion, but most of them are convoluted in their minds, their opinions. You don't want to be an opinionated person. When you actually get down and study the Bible, you want to make sure you have a Bible in your hands. And if you have a Bible and they ask you a Bible question, then you can turn to the answer and give it to them, or you can say what? If you don't know the answer, what can you say? That's a good question. And you can write it down and say, we'll get back together with you Tuesday night, and I'll let God answer it. Or, if you have a Bible with you, say, wait just a minute, let me see if I can find that. And you look it up, and you give them you let them read the answer for themselves. Okay, so now the last one is tips for giving gifts. Now, here's something that you said, how can we use this garden to evangelize? For one thing, you can get parents, you can go to the school, and you could say, if any of the kids, go to an elementary school, or maybe you can go to this middle school that's not too far from you. If any of the kids would like to experience what it's like to farm, I'm going to take 10 names. Don't say to anybody, just make it 10 names or 5 names or whatever, and have them give you a call, put it on a sheet of paper, and say, we're going to meet down here during the summer, or we're going to meet down here Saturday at 10 o'clock. Come down here with one of your parents, and I'll show you about farming. And so what you do is then you get their name. And I'm going to show you what to do with their names Tuesday night when we do the habanero visitation ministry. Another thing you can do with them is take them gifts. Do you have any tomatoes planted out there? Have any tomatoes planted out there? 2 rows of tomatoes. When you take tomatoes and you put them in a little sack, or you put them in a little plastic container that you bought at Dollar Tree, and you go take it to them after they visited here, or if they haven't come here in a long time and you take tomatoes to them, you're giving them a gift. That's huge. When people give you a gift, they feel like they owe you something. And so giving gifts is very important. And I'll talk about that more as we go along. Proverbs 19 and verse 6 said that, talks about giving gifts. Many entreat the favor of nobility, but every man is a friend to one who gives gifts. You ever notice that? You give gifts to people. Now people say, why are you giving me a gift? Because I want you to have the best day that you've ever had in your life. Isn't that a lot better to come across that way than come across beating them over the head with the Bible? You know, the Bible says you're going to hell if you don't repent. Well, that's, tomatoes work better usually in that type of situation. You want to get in a Bible study with them is what you want to do. Don't spend a lot. You can go to Dollar Tree and you can find all kinds of goodies, but having stuff from a garden, man, those are the best kind of gifts. Find out hobbies and foods that they like. For instance, if somebody collects rhinoceroses, they have a rhinoceros collection, and you go into a store and you see a rhinoceros there. If it doesn't cost too much, then buy it. And when you see them again, say, look, I got a rhinoceros for your collection. And they'll thank you, and then they'll throw it away. No, usually they'll thank you, and they'll keep it. They'll cherish it. Don't overdo it, though. Don't just keep giving them gifts all the time. Just do it now and then. And it doesn't have to be anything big. It can be a piece of candy, a stick of gum. It can be something. I love watching some of these old TV shows, old black and white TV shows. Any of y'all like watching them? I like watching Father Knows Best. And if you got Roku and stuff like that, you can pick up these things. And Father Knows Best Father got in an envelope with a $500 check in it, and the envelope, some of the pages were missing to a letter, but he said, this is to somebody, I don't know the name of this individual, I just know the last name is Anderson. And the whole family's trying to figure out, they did a good deed for me, and I want to repay them. Well, they all told their stories, and it turned out to be the little girl saw him really dejected one day at school when she had to go to the principal. And she went and sat down beside him, and she says, you look sad. Said, I've got to go to the principal, but my daddy said, if you'll just be patient long enough, everything will work out. He said, would you like a stick of gum? So she gave him a stick of gum. He never forgot that. And so the 2 other missing parts of the letter arrived the next day, and they read it, and he talked about that incident, and that little girl got $500 for giving that man a stick of gum at one of the most important junctures in his life. He was accused of stealing money from some kid's lunchbox, and the kid finally admitted later that that didn't happen. He was vindicated. But you know something? Giving a gift lasts with people. And so I hope that you will write these 10 down, and I hope that you will work on them. And when you think about them or see them, I saw this commercial for a while about this man who was in his 90s, and he would go out on the streets in a little town, and he would give out Hershey bars to kids, and he was known as the Hershey Man. And boy, when I could eat Hershey bars, I would love it if somebody gave me a Hershey bar, unless it's 110 degrees outside. You know, it might not be too good, but wow, just giving out a Hershey bar, it was really something. Well, anyway, so what do you do when you try to connect with them and set up a study? Don't ever say, let's go study sometimes. Be specific. Ask them, when can we get together? Tuesday, Thursday, what time would be good for you? If that's not good, how about Saturday or during the morning sometime? And say, we'll study and learn from each other. That's always better than saying, I'm going to teach you, you heathen. No, it's always better to say, we'll study God's Word and we'll learn together. And then after you set up the study, call the day or text the day, call or text. If you're under 35, text. If you're over 35, you can get away with calling them. And call them and to confirm, and then find a neutral site they prefer. They might rather study up the church building or at McDonald's or sometimes in their home, but people are getting less likely to have a Bible study in their home than they used to. In fact, they won't even invite you in if you come to their home. That's okay. We can work past that. Conclusion, don't worry if they reject you at first. Keep praying and build your relationship. You don't have to convert them today, but you'll want to remember and put them down on your 10. You may not see them but once a year, but that's okay. You keep praying for them and God will open up an opportunity. Don't mention the Bible study. If you do bring up a Bible study and they reject you, don't mention it, but keep being nice to them and keep sowing seeds and keep getting to know them and asking them questions. Let's say they moved to this area from, he lived in Donna. You say, well, how's everything going in Donna? And just ask them about, are you still drawing? Are you still, have you got that engineering job yet that you're looking for? See, I can remember things that we relate to. You're still working out the gym, so on. In other words, you bring those things back up. It could be 5 years before you finally get a Bible study. That's how committed we need to be. And the goal is to draw them not to you, the goal is to draw them to Jesus. Jesus said, if I be what? Lifted up, I will draw all men unto me. And that's what we're in the drawing business. We're in the seed sowing business, the planting, the watering business, and the harvesting business, but who gives the increase? It's God. Don't demand or demean their beliefs or damage your relationships. You are the one God is using as a tool for His glory. And remember your daily mission. If you need another card, get as many as you need. If you run out, we'll send you more. They're free to you. In fact, all the material that we'll be giving you out this week, including we're going to give you gifts this week. So you don't want to miss a day. You're going to miss all the fun. Who knows what kind of gift you may get. Excuse me, my acid reflux is acting up. Thank you so much for the water. Let's close with the song. Lead me to some soul today. Oh, teach me, Lord, just what to say. Friends of mine are lost in sin and cannot find their way. Few there are who seem to care, and few there are who pray. Melt my heart and fill my life. Give me one soul today. If you're working on 10 people, you might get one soul a year. And what if every person here brought one person, just one person to Christ a year? You wouldn't have enough seats. You'd have to go down the road and start another church, wouldn't you? Wouldn't that be great? Okay, well, thank you for coming. We're going to take about a 10-minute break and then come on back in here, and we're going to do the hanger session, another acronym. But you'll be telling us about this congregation, about things that this congregation needs, things that you want to do, And then you're going to give us all the excuses why this congregation can't grow. And then we'll end with a resolve. So y'all go out for about 10 minutes and come on back in. Thank you very much.